They called her the mad nurse for wasting her time on a dying beggar. Little did they know, the old man held a secret that would turn her poverty into power overnight. Ada wiped the sweat from her brow as the afternoon sun blazed over the dusty village square. Her bare feet kicked up small clouds of red earth as she balanced the tray of freshly fried akara on her head. The market was thinning out. Most of the traders had packed up, leaving only a few stragglers haggling over the last scraps of goods. She adjusted the frayed wrapper tied around her waist and sighed. Another day of meagre sales. Another day of whispers. Look at her, still selling bean cakes like a child. At her age, she should be married. Maybe no man wants a woman who can't even afford proper clothes. The voices of the village women slithered into her ears like serpents, but Ada kept her chin up. She had heard worse. Ever since her parents died in the flood 5 years ago, leaving her with nothing but a crumbling mud hut and a stubborn will to survive, the village had made her their favourite target. She was about to head home when a weak cough caught her attention. Near the abandoned palm wine stall, a hunched figure sat in the dirt, trembling. The old man's clothes were little more than rags, his skin stretched tight over bones. His face was gaunt, his eyes cloudy with sickness. The villagers walked past him as if he were invisible. Some even spat in his direction. "Useless beggar," muttered Mamankichi, the yam seller. "Probably cursed. That's why no one helps him." Ada's chest tightened. She had seen this man before, lingering at the edges of the market, shooed away like a strayed dog. No one knew his name. No one cared to ask. Her feet moved before her mind could argue. "Na'anyi," she called softly, using the respectful term for an elder. "Are you hungry?" The old man's milky eyes flickered up in surprise. No one had spoken to him in weeks. Ada didn't wait for an answer. She knelt beside him, breaking one of her akara in half. The golden crumbs fell onto her palm as she offered it to him. The villagers froze. Then the laughter started. "Look at Ada. She's feeding the madman." Maybe she wants to marry him. Her face burned, but she ignored them. The old man's bony fingers trembled as he took the food. He ate slowly, as if savouring not just the taste, but the kindness. That night, as the village slept, Ada crept back to the market square. The old man was still there, curled up on the cold ground, shivering. Without a word, she helped him to his feet and led him to her hut. Her home was small, just one room with a straw mat, a clay pot for cooking, and a single oil lamp. But it was dry. It was safe. "You can stay here," she said. The old man said nothing. But as she spread her only blanket over him, she saw something wet glisten in his eyes. Days turned into weeks. Ada's routine never changed. Wake up before dawn, fry akara, sell at the market, return home to care for the old man. She washed his sores with herbs, gave him the softest portions of her meals, and spoke to him like he was family, even when he never replied. The villagers' mockery grew louder. "Mad Nurse Ada? How is your beggar husband today?" "Stupid girl, wasting food on a man who will die anyway." Even the children joined in, throwing pebbles at her hut and chanting cruel rhymes. But Ada held her tongue. She remembered her father's words before he died. The measure of a person is not in their wealth, but in their heart. One evening, as she boiled medicinal leaves for the old man's cough, he finally spoke. "Why?" His voice was a dry whisper like wind through dead grass. Ada paused. "Why what? Nah. Why help me?" She stirred the pot, thinking. "Because no one should die alone." The old man studied her face for a long moment. Then, for the first time, he smiled. "The pure heart will inherit what the greedy eyes cannot see." Ada didn't understand, but before she could ask, a loud bang shook her door. Emeka, the village chief's son, kicked it open, his face twisted in a sneer. "Ada, you think you can hide here while your debt grows? You owe me for last month's beans." She stood quickly. I'll pay you next market day." "Liar!" He grabbed her akara pot, the only thing of value she owned, and smashed it on the ground. "No more business for you." As he stormed out, laughing, Ada sank to her knees, staring at the shattered clay. Her livelihood gone. The old man watched silently. Then, with great effort, he reached into his rags and pulled out a small, tattered notebook. "Take this. To Lagos." His breath was laboured. "Find Chief Anayo at Diamond Trust Plaza. Tell him the Lion of Umuahia sent you." Ada frowned. "Lagos? But I've never even left this village." "Go." The force in his voice startled her. Then, softer. "You are the only one who deserves it." His hand went limp. Ada's heart pounded as she touched his neck. No pulse. Tears blurred her vision as she gently closed his eyes. Then, with trembling fingers, she opened the notebook. The first page made her gasp. Bank codes, property deeds, a will. And at the bottom, a name, Sir Jonathan Okoro, owner of First Continental Bank, Trust Alliance, Golden Vault, and 6 others. Ada's legs gave out. The beggar she had cared for was a billionaire. And his final words echoed in her soul. "You are the only one who deserves it." The same villagers who mocked her now knelt at her feet. But wealth brings wolves, and Ada was about to face the deadliest of them all. The notebook burned in Ada's hands like a live coal. She sat on the floor of her hut, the oil lamp flickering shadows across the pages filled with numbers, addresses, and legal documents she barely understood. Sir Jonathan Okoro. The name meant nothing to her, but the words, sole beneficiary, jumped out from the last page, sending her heart into her throat. She had no money for a bus to Lagos, no nice clothes to wear to a big office, no idea who Chief Anayo was. All she had was the notebook and the old man's dying words. That night, she buried Mazi Okoro behind her hut, whispering a prayer over the shallow grave. Then she packed her one good wrapper, a gourd of water, and the notebook into a frayed bag. At dawn, she slipped out of the village before anyone could see her. The journey to Lagos was a blur of dusty roads, rickety buses, and suspicious glances. Men leered at her in motor parks. Traders cheated her when she asked for directions, and hunger gnawed at her stomach. But Ada clenched her jaw and kept moving. 3 days later, she stood in front of Diamond Trust Plaza, a towering glass building that made her dizzy just looking up. Security guards in crisp uniforms eyed her worn sandals and faded dress with disdain. "Oya, move! You can't loiter here," one barked. Ada swallowed. I need to see Chief Anayo." The guards laughed. "Chief Anayo doesn't meet with market women. Scram!" Desperation tightened her chest. Then she remembered the old man's words. "Tell him, the Lion of Umuahia sent me." The guards' laughter died, their faces paled. One immediately grabbed his radio. The guards' laughter died, their faces paled. One immediately grabbed his radio. 5 minutes later, Ada was whisked into a private elevator, then into an office where a stern-faced man in an expensive suit stood frozen behind his desk. You spoke with him?" Chief Anayo's voice trembled. "Where is Sir Jonathan?" Ada's throat closed. "He's gone." She handed over the notebook. The lawyer's hands shook as he flipped through it. Then, without warning, he sank to his knees and wept. Sir Jonathan Okoro hadn't just been rich, he'd been one of the most powerful bankers in Africa, a self-made billionaire who owned 9 banks across the continent. But 5 years ago, after his own nephews tried to poison him for his fortune, he vanished. The family claimed he'd gone senile and died abroad. "He's been hiding in plain sight," Chief Anayo whispered, "waiting for someone worthy." Then he took Ada to the vault. Gold bars, stacks of cash in foreign currencies, files labelled Property Deeds, Lagos, Abuja, Accra, London. and a will freshly updated, leaving everything to the one who showed me kindness without knowing my name. Ada's legs buckled. This is a mistake, was she stammered. Chief Anayo shook his head. Number. He planned this. For years he tested people. His family failed. You passed. News travelled fast. By the time Ada returned to her village in a black SUV with tinted windows, a crowd had already gathered. Mama Nkichi dropped her basket of yams. Emeka's mouth hung open. The children who'd thrown stones at her hut now hid behind their mothers. Ada stepped out, no longer in a faded wrapper, but in a sleek dress, her hair neatly braided. Chief Anayo stood beside her, holding a megaphone. By the authority of Sir Jonathan Okoro's last will, Ada is now the legal owner of his entire estate. The silence shattered. Ada, my daughter, I always knew you were special. Please, I need a small loan. My child is sick. Forgive us, oh, we were blind. Emeka pushed forward, sweating. Ada, I was wrong. Let me work for you. Ada looked at their pleading faces, the same ones that had mocked her, starved her, broken her only pot. Her chest ached. Then she remembered the old man's eyes when she gave him that first akara. Kindness expects no reward, but wealth attracts enemies. 2 weeks later, as Ada oversaw the construction of a new clinic in the village, black cars screeched into the square. 6 men in suits stormed out, led by a sharp-faced man with cold eyes. Ada Mbeze? He sneered. I am Chinedu Okoro, Sir Jonathan's nephew. That fortune belongs to his family. Chief Anayo stepped between them. The courts have ruled. Leave. Chinedu's smile was venomous. We'll see about that. That night, gunshots rang out near Ada's new house. A fire burned down the half-built clinic, and a note was left on her pillow. Sign over the banks, or next time, you burn too. Ada sat in her office in Lagos, staring at the legal papers Chinedu had sent. Sign, and she'd walk away with nothing. Refuse, and more people would get hurt. Then she noticed something. A clause buried in tiny print. All claims void if beneficiary is proven to have coerced or harmed Sir Jonathan. A memory flashed. The old man's raspy voice. They tried to poison me. She called Chief Anayo. Did anyone ever investigate his disappearance? The lawyer's eyes widened. No, but if we could prove... Find the evidence. 3 days later, a maid from Chinedu's household came forward. She'd kept the poison bottle, had photos, witnesses. The arrest made headlines. Okoro Hares arrested for attempted murder. With the enemies gone, Ada did what Sir Jonathan would have wanted. She didn't just build clinics. She built schools. Not just houses, but microloan programs for market women. At the grand opening of the Okoro Foundation, a reporter asked, "Why help those who wronged you?" Ada smiled. Because someone once helped me when no one else would. That's how kindness grows. As the crowd cheered, she looked up at the sky, imagining the old man watching. Somewhere, she knew he was proud. True wealth isn't in money, but in the hearts you touch. If you were in Ada's place, would you have forgiven the village? Subscribe for more interesting story.